It's time for Maggie and the Moms. Sponsored by Tampa General Hospital.
It's travel time here on Maggie and the Moms because knowing tips and tricks for family trips can save you time, money, and your sanity. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to be joined today by some experts in this field. Terry Ward, literally an expert in the field. She's a travel writer. She's a mother of two. She's always going somewhere and frequently bringing her kids, so she'll have a lot of good insight to share. Laura Byrne is a mother of two as well, and she's the editor of Tampa Bay Parenting Magazine. And Deanna Moore, mother of two. Hey, we're the Mother of Two Club here today on the podcast. Travels with her kids too, and that's the idea because we're all moms who have traveled, have learned things that we think other moms would benefit from knowing. Terry, you know pro tips and insider information, so let's share everything we can from hacks, money saving, time saving, sanity saving, okay? Are we ready?
Let's do it. Let's go.
I love this.
It's a big topic, so I kind of broke it down into categories. Let's start with the best time to travel. Terry, you say, for a family.
Well, I mean, shoulder season is always sweet stuff. It's hard because the kids are in school. One advantage that we have here in Florida is the kids get out at the end of May. We're getting out this Friday, May 31st, but normally it's a week earlier. So if you can get over to popular destinations that get slammed in the summer, like Europe or big cities in the States, before everybody's out, you're going to get discounts on accommodations, on airfare, and everything.
I know, Laura, you pull the kids out of school sometimes, which I think is great when they're little.
Yeah, when they're younger. And, you know, we did a one-day trip. It was locally to Orlando, and I had my middle schooler out this year. And that was a big wake-up call for me where it was a lot of work for him to play catch-up. So that's why I tell parents if they're younger, elementary age or younger, just take the trip, pull them out of school. It's going to be fine if they miss a week. It changes as they get a little bit older. It gets to be a little bit more complicated for middle school. I can imagine high school is a whole nother can of worms of what that's going to be like. So it's, you know, I definitely think twice, but you know, it's true when the best time to travel really is when the kids are in school. And there's a reason for that because everybody's going in the summertime. So
I'll tell you what I've learned, and this is just something that I didn't expect. We went to the Grand Canyon, as you know, a couple of summers ago. Going to the Grand Canyon in the summer, consider the weather. Guys, when you travel somewhere. There was one day we went to the Grand Canyon. We were in Phoenix for a day because that's where we were flying out of. We couldn't leave our hotel room because it was 115 degrees. Yeah. So think about that. If you're planning a trip somewhere, consider the weather. Don't assume you have all day outdoors. Plan indoor activities. And if you're going to a place like the Grand Canyon, go hiking early in the morning or like in the late afternoon, and then plan something indoors in between. That's what I have learned.
We did spring break for Europe, for Italy. You know this, Maggie. And I think that was great because everybody's going to Italy and Spain and all these places in the summer, Terry,
when
as
it's
you
hot
would know, when
and
it's
crowded.
super hot and super crowded. And it's a little cold. Actually, it's more cool, which I prefer anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. I'm doing spring break travel now to like the big places instead of summer. This is my whole new thing. It's a shorter trip. It's 5 to 7 days.
But that's
I'm good with that.
Also, Thanksgiving week is a great time to go overseas because flights are very expensive domestically for Thanksgiving because everyone's going home to family. But you'll find deals to the Caribbean and Europe at that time too. So, and we get a whole week off. A lot of our schools, some get more, I think. So
great to know. Do you travel with your kids? Do you take them places that are like, I don't know, that you would spend money on if they're not going to remember the trip?
Yeah, this is a great question because I think kids don't make those core memories, like really remember until about age 5, according to science. I've researched this a bit. And I think mine have traveled since they were quite young. I'm sure yours have too, and probably yours too. So I see them, it's kind of like muscle memory. Stuff they learned when they were little, they've been doing for years and years. They're just pros in a airport security line. They're pros in a hotel, and I think it's from just doing it from very young. So it's worth it. And also, you make those memories with them. You take photos, you can show it to them and relive it. So they do sort of think they remember. You know.
I think if you want to go on a trip, I wouldn't let the kids being little stop me. but I might not plan like, oh, you're 2 because this happened. You're ready for Disney World because I'm dying for her to go to Disney World. And then my daughter was deathly afraid of the characters because she was too young. So my thinking is, if it's a trip just for the kids, maybe do it when they're old enough to appreciate it. But if it's a trip, a family trip that you want to go on, I don't think the kids should be a hindrance. The kids being too young should be a hindrance.
No.
Yeah, you know, for us, it's like we've thought about doing the European vacation. You know, I traveled a lot to foreign countries when I was younger because my dad was in the Air Force. So we lived, you know, I was able to go to places like Hong Kong. So we were in Guam. It was a, you know, quick flight, so to speak. Not really, but and I do remember I was very young. I do have some flash memories of different things of going to those countries. But for me, I'm like, I don't know. Do I really hate myself? Like, do I want to drag my little kids to these? I'm trying to make memories of my lifetime too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I can wait until they're a little bit older and can appreciate it a little bit more, which is why we do.
It depends on what kind of traveler you are too.
And your kids.
I'm a run and gun kind of traveler. Like it's like 7 a.m. to midnight. I'm not going to do that to a kid. So I just wait. Like,
well, that's, you know,
if grandma and grandpa can watch them, let's do that.
Because I want to see all the museums. My husband is completely opposite, and it's, you know,
There's a great article a friend of mine wrote about how you only have 18 summers with your kids. I mean, let's hope we have more that they want to come back with us. But she kind of placed out, I think it was on Condé Nast Traveler. Look for it.
I remember that one.
She you know, placed out like what age is good for what trip, and that's really true. You don't want to blow this money going safari when your kid is too. They're probably not even allowed to go. And Disney, wait till they aren't afraid of the characters.
Yeah,
so that's really.
But I do, you know, I've read a lot about this 18 summers. Some people agree with it, some people don't agree with it. I will say, now that I have a 19-year-old who has a job, she just started this job, so she can't travel for 90 days. And so that means all summer now we don't have her either we go without her or we don't go. So yes, go take advantage of the summers that you have while your kids are out of school and not working and not doing sports and can go with you. So I agree with that. What about starting to plan? I'm terrible at this. You're great at this, Deanna. How soon do you start to plan to save the most money and get the best everything? Why are you laughing? It's true, you're great at it.
Because she saw this plan that I have for next.
This is why she's the producer and you're
July.
Yes, exactly.
2026. I already have the trip ready to go.
Of course you do. I love that.
So
And that's the
my
difference
answer.
to Laura's point between a producer and a flaky talent. So please share.
Well, there is a lot of people ask me, you know, like when should I book my flight to get the best deal? And the airlines they're never going to tell you when, because then they'll lose money. But travel experts say that for non-peak domestic travel, you could book between 1 to 3 months out, and then 3 to 8 months or something for peak time. So you can I start thinking about the flights. I'm pretty last minute with that, a couple months before, unless I get a good deal. And if you're going somewhere really popular in peak season, you do have to start thinking about it ahead of time. If you have a hotel you really want to stay in.
For sure.
I always book car rental as soon as I know. I use Orbitz because you can cancel for no penalty. So I always lock the car in as soon as possible because it's going to be cheap.
Because why not?
Yeah.
You know something, when we were going to Hawaii and a couple of other places, but I specifically remember this about Hawaii, there were a lot of places like the Pearl Harbor Memorial that they don't even open up the window to get the tickets, and some of the tickets are free, but they don't let you go in and get them until however many days out. So what I did that was really helpful is I set reminders on my phone. The second that window
you are
opens,
a planner.
I am for some things, but I planned the trip and then I did that. I just waited too long to begin planning the trip. But anyway, I set the reminder on my phone, and the second that window opened, I was there to make sure I got the tickets when I wanted, and a lot of those are free, like for places like that.
Yeah.
They're free. So I say do that.
I'm an obsessive person in that I like to go to certain restaurants, but they do that thing where they block you out. And I'm like, I know I want to go to this restaurant a year in advance.
Yeah.
But I have to keep checking, like, now the reservations are open. Wait, now the reservations are open. But whatever.
How soon do you start planning? Like a year?
Me?
Yeah.
Year and a few months, apparently, right?
To be honest with you, I think I know where I want to go every year for the next, like, 3 or 4
That's
years.
impressive.
Cool.
But that doesn't mean I'm planning it. I
Got your bucket list.
We're doing like an out west tour on Maggie's recommendation because of the tip that she gave me about fourth graders. Tell them tip, Maggie.
The free
this is a great
national.
Yep. Free,
You tell the kid.
yes. If you're in 4th grade, you can go to all the national parks for free
that's
admission.
amazing.
But you were talking about, was it West Virginia?
Yeah, all their state parks
All
are
their
free.
state
They have
parks are
36
free.
state parks. There's only a few states that offer all free admission to all their state parks. We don't here in Florida. We have some amazing ones too. They're worth paying for.
Yeah.
So that's good. And that's another thing. How do you find out all the free stuff?
Google.
Google.
For me, yeah, and just look at. I mean, probably TikTok nowadays too. When you think about
I'm
it,
looking
there's
at you,
so much
Terry. You
information
tell us.
online. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, generations, there's 7 generations alive right now at the same time for the first time ever, from the silent generation to Gen Alpha, I think the one that was just born. So everyone's going about this differently. And like our kids are more going to be like the AI generation and using TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. I think those are great. I often go on and do hashtags for where I am and just see, you can get some really cool like stuff that you just won't find in the first article that pops up on Google, you know?
Any tips for saving money on meals when you're there?
I mean, for us, we don't usually stay in hotels. We try to book condos, and there's actually sometimes a condo can be cheaper than a hotel, but then you have a kitchen and you can shop and eat your typical normal food. It's like, it's fun to go to restaurants, but after you've been to a restaurant a few times, you kind of get sick of it.
That's
But
not my
also,
life.
That's just no, but
It
that's
is
so
kinda-
expensive. Restaurants
is.
sometimes we
Restaurants are
spend
very
so
expensive.
much on meals on vacation.
So it's like, if you can just
Yeah.
get like, or maybe it's just the breakfast, go to a grocery store and have some stuff where it's like some normal things that you, especially with kids.
Yeah, maybe just
and
breakfast,
snacks,
Deanna.
but-
Have at the
And also
hotel.
prepared.
What'd you say?
Maybe you can just
sections.
have breakfast at your hotel.
No,
No.
listen, if I'm going to splurge on anything, it's
Yeah.
the food. I will like,
Okay.
I'll
Well, I
live
guess
in
if
a
you're overseas,
ridiculously
yes, that's
cheap
true.
hotel. My philosophy on hotels is, as long as the sheets aren't gross and there are no bed bugs, I'll stay in any hotel
Yeah.
just so I can splurge on having a $400
because you're not
meal.
in the hotel that much anyway.
Exactly.
I am of
True.
that philosophy too. I mean, there's nothing nicer than a nice hotel, but if I have to choose between, I'm definitely siding on let's go on an excursion or let's go to a
Exactly.
great
Yeah.
It
restaurant.
can be an adventure in other countries too, to go to supermarkets and check the prepared
Yes.
foods.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
think about
I
it. If
love
you
doing
just went
that.
to some of our shops here, or prepared food supermarkets here in Tampa, you could save a lot of money
That's
versus
so
going
true.
to a restaurant. And you'll have a very local experience too, going
Yeah.
in there, see what the locals are
You're
ordering at the
shopping like
counter.
the locals and eating like the locals.
Yeah.
Like truly like
yes.
the locals, because locals aren't going out to eat all the time.
And listen, once you
That's
get
a
out
good
of the
point.
United States, you're not paying 20% tip either on top of
Exactly.
everything.
That is such a good
Exactly.
point. Yes, look at whatever the tipping policy is where you're going, because frequently they don't expect it at all, and we as Americans don't know that unless we read about it. So thank you for pointing that out.
But even when you stay domestically, some of the best food is like a dive or like a place where you get,
but
like
how do you know about that dive?
I think honestly, you just have to start looking on social media.
Yeah.
Before I go on a trip, I start like following places locally or looking at lists. Like I'll go on. Even I've like Googled lists, and here's Terry Ward as the writer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll look on maps too and just see. I even do just when I'm somewhere in Florida that I'm not familiar with, and then just see the restaurants that are mentioned like near me, and then look at them and look on the
Yeah.
reviews and find places you would never find Googling those lists. That like local people have rated and reviewed. So I look on maps a ton when I'm traveling.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
What about so you're booking things. We're back to the you're booking the trip now. Should you sign up everybody for a mileage rewards and try to fly with the same airline all the time?
You should absolutely sign everybody up from the minute they're older than 2 years old.
Okay.
Because they'll start counting for everything. And I do try to stick with one airline. I mean, people in Atlanta want to stay with Delta. Here in Tampa, it's kind of divided probably, but it's definitely worth it. I'm booked my entire family on miles to Indonesia this summer, which I could never have afforded those flights. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And also credit cards. Like we use our credit card points for vacations constantly, and they help so much. I know I'm not as strategic as I could be. I know that there are some cards that are better than others. Do you have any input on that?
I would use sites like pointme.com, point.me, and then what's it called? The Points Guy. Like they have tons of hacking points. It's a science. Like you have to spend some time learning it, but then you can really learn how to maximize your rewards. There are a lot of cards out there. I have United Mileage Plus and Explorer cards, and you can get the business card too. You get these huge sign-on bonuses that'll cover a flight overseas. So it is definitely worth it.
All right.
And I love all the friends who travel for work all the time that they're able to keep those points and book vacations just because of work.
Exactly.
It's kind of nice in a way. It's that perk. I know stinks to have to travel and leave your family, but
people love the Marriott Bonvoy card.
Marriott. Yes, we have our points through them too, and have tons of rooms
everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's a St. Regis, it's a Ritz-Carlton, it's a Town Place Suites. It's just so many brands.
I have a friend who, for a lot of years, she and the kids lived in Miami, and the husband worked in New York, so he would travel every single week. He wound up accumulating so many points, hotel and airline, that they pulled their kids out of school for an entire year.
That's amazing.
And traveled
the
world.
Wow.
This is Victoria, who I always tell you reminds me of you.
Wow.
And it's like, man, they
That's
did it
the
the smart
dream.
way. They did not, by any stretch, spend a fortune because they were super strategic about it.
But on the other end, I'm curious, Terry, specifically, what do you think about budget airlines like Allegiant, Spirit, Frontier? Are you opposed to those?
Because I like to try and get miles on United and Star Alliance partners, I will pay a little bit more to fly on them, but I have like a tipping point, where it's not worth it. But I am definitely not opposed to budget airlines. But what you have to be aware of is they're going to nickel and dime you for absolutely everything. They're going to weigh your backpack, your carry-on. So you really have to be aware of that. The price looks very enticing at first, but it could wind up.
And sometimes it's better timing as well. They no longer have this flight out of St. Pete and Clearwater, but there was one to Provo. We fly into Park City on Delta, Salt Lake, but there's only one flight a day, and then the flight back is a red eye. We wanted to try to avoid that, so we booked on Allegiant from Provo, which is about the same distance from Park City as Salt Lake's airport is. And we flew into St. Pete Clearwater, which is great. The smaller airports, there's definitely a bonus in a way, because those budget airlines tend to go in the smaller airports. And I, for example, my son collected rocks on the ski trip and put them in his jacket. And my purse was with his jacket. Of course, we got flagged at security, and my purse and his jacket got left. And I'm on the plane and realized, oh my gosh, my purse is at the checkpoint still with my keys that I need to start the car and like all these things.
That's a nightmare.
But they were able to go, and they didn't let me get off the plane, but they had security,
Oh, thank goodness.
going. That would never have happened if we were at the Salt Lake City airport.
Okay.
But it was just the smaller airports, they're small. They're not as fancy maybe as the bigger ones, but it was kind of a nice experience. We've only done it once.
And
they
less
no longer
crazy
have that
for
flight.
sure.
But I was really impressed, and it wasn't like it was that much further than the Tampa airport.
I think people forget about the regional airports because I went to a wedding in Bedford, New York, and people, let's just call a spade, people get really bougie, and so they automatically thought I got to either fly into JFK or LaGuardia. And I just Googled what's the nearest airport. No, was it White Plains? I can't remember. I think it was White Plains actually, and it was cheaper than going JFK or LaGuardia, and it was 30 minutes outside of the venue.
Closer.
It was closer. So people are like, oh,
Why
I didn't
wouldn't
realize.
you?
Because people just get in their minds, I have to go to the hub. I have to go to Atlanta or, wherever.
That's really true of Fort Lauderdale, even in Miami too.
I love Fort
we go to
Lauderdale.
Miami all the time, but sometimes if we don't really fly, but if we do, we look. I don't have
Palm Beach Airport.
Well, Palm
Is that
Palm
small?
Beach
It's
is a little smaller. It's a little small. I mean, it's a little far. It's a little far
I
from
see.
Miami.
Okay,
Fort Lauderdale is pretty close.
True.
Speaking of, let's talk the next 5 minutes or so about like the airport and the airlines. Do you have any hacks for convenience, for safety, for saving money related to the airport or while you're on the plane?
I would say, because we travel out west, we do frequent the red-eye flight, unfortunately, coming back home. And sometimes we have to book out of our hotel room super early in the morning. But if you have an American Express, you can book the lounge there. And this not every lounge has, but they have showers. And to me, that was game changing in a way, to be able for me and my kids to take showers, to change into something clean and brush our teeth, and then get on the plane and go to sleep.
Is that something that's available for every American Express card holder, or do you pay?
So only certain levels of American. I think it's the oh my gosh, is it the platinum and above? But you can pay. So my husband is a card holder. He paid extra for us, but there was free food, drinks. So it's kind of like, and you think about how much airport food costs and airport drinks cost.
True.
It's kind of like, well, maybe that was where we got our value, but just being able to, it was a very clean, it was beautiful. Now, I don't think our lounge here at our airport has that, but that airport does. So it's worth checking to see, just because just being able to be clean. I know at Gatwick Airport in London, for example, it's called we did this when we flew in. It's like the Yotel or something, but it's literally a little cabin with bunk beds, a toilet, and a shower. And
at the airport?
At the airport. and you book it for a few hours to get clean or nap or whatever you need to do. I was able to take a shower, get clean. I was pregnant at the time, so I was able to go throw up. And, it's like, but it was nice because then we were ready to go and start our day. It was a flight coming in that landed in the morning. We reset and we got on the channel and headed because it was cheaper for us to fly into London first and then get to Paris through the, I guess the channel. What is it called?
That's it.
It's the channel.
But so just look for those perks at the airport that are there and available. Sometimes it's worth that extra expense just to
What
reset.
about you traveling with 2 little kids? Anything that's really life-changing for you at the airport or on the plane?
Let's see. When they were younger, I think definitely bring their car seat in the plane. It makes them sleep better. Like
100%.
all like,
and you can
and
also
it's safer.
check the stroller at the gate for free, right?
Yes,
Yes.
you can.
Yeah.
So that's a good
For
thing. So you have to
sure.
pay to check everything these days. So that's a nice thing. What about you with your girls? Anything that's
Nothing at the airport, but I don't know why this sticks in my brain. Because I'm afraid of losing my bags. I actually have never lost my bags. I'm knocking on wood. I pack underwear in everyone's carry-on.
Yes, you have
or a
to.
clean outfit.
Yes.
Yes.
A change of clothes for everybody in
That's
their
really
carry-on.
smart.
Okay, so you
I agree
mentioned the
with that
car
one.
seats, and this is my hack. I shouldn't say out loud.
No,
but
you should.
We travel because my younger one is still in a booster seat, and we have the cover for it or whatever, or bag, the car seat bag, but we stuff our like extra stuff in there, like the boots or the jackets and things like that. So it's almost like free.
it is.
And they know it's in there, obviously, when they don't say anything.
only had them
but
check it
everybody
once.
does it. Yeah. Okay.
That's
no,
a
but
good one.
but bring the car seat for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no,
smart.
we'll check it. But I mean, the car seat on the plane
Yeah.
is much safer too. I hate to say you
It
should
is.
really be booking a seat for your baby, but things happen
Yeah.
on an airline. It is recommended to have a car seat, and it's just better for everybody.
Yeah, they
I
sleep a
feel
lot
like.
better.
Agreed. All right. What about, gosh, we're almost out of time. I don't know which topic I want to go to next. Let's just cover safety, because any safety tips, like I've heard you, like putting a GPS tracker in your kids, like those air tags in your kids' shoe or socks. So if you get separated, do that. Is there anything you do either at the hotel or when you're traveling with kids to make sure that they're safe?
Well, I always check the exits from the hotel room and just kind of run that over where the stairs are, because you hear horror stories, but that's just, I bought the air tags and I keep meaning to attach
I know,
them.
that's
and I
the
never
problem.
have. So I've got like 4 air tags like sitting there. I think, people always ask this question. People ask question like, well, is it safe to travel with my kids to Guatemala? And it's like, there are children in Guatemala, so just like.
What a great statement.
if
There are
you're-
children in Guatemala.
It's like there are kids everywhere, and all parents are worried about safety. Just keep the same vigilance you keep at home, and that would be
Exactly.
I think
agree
you do
with
that,
that.
naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
All right. So I would like each one of you to share, if you could think of like just one hack that you want the listener or the viewer to know right now. I'll start so you have time to think of it. This is something that I learned just today in my research for this. At theme parks, at least in Orlando, Disney, and others, they offer something called the rider switch option. It's also known as the baby swap. So let's say, Terry, you and your husband take the kids to Disney. You and your husband want to ride a ride, but the kids are too little or don't want to. You should still be able to ride the ride. So what you can do is you all get in line together. By the time you reach the front of the line, you go and you tell the attendant, we want to do the baby swap thing. So your husband and the kids wait right there.
Oh, cool.
Then when you come back, you can swap with your husband and he can ride the ride without having to wait in line again. I never knew that was
I
a
didn't
thing.
know that one either. We have spent a lot of time,
I
but I also don't do
know.
rides. But that's a really good tip.
Yeah, that's great.
I wish I could have used that in Christmas time, but it was just me and the girls, and you can't do that.
Oh, yeah, you need another
Stood
adult
in a
or person who
whole
could stay
line.
with
Rent the
them.
husband for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, final words. You guys got anything mind-blowing?
Mine would be, so Airbnb, VRBO, we all use those, right? Well, if you find a unit you really like, and then find out what the rental company is that manages, or the property management company, and then skip Airbnb and just go directly to the property management company, and they will often offer you a better deal because you're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And and then when you do book longer, you can negotiate lower rates. Everything is open for negotiation, especially for rental units like that. Hotels may be a little different, but that's my tip. So don't always book through Airbnb. You don't
That's
have
great.
to, but
That's
use
a
it to
great
find
one.
it.
All right, Terry.
I would say traveling is stressful enough. I always try to do carry-on only because I don't want to worry about the bags not making it. It might be great that you have the underwear, but it's better to have
everything. Have everything you need.
And also, I give each of my kids their own carry-on. I have mine, and then we use packing cubes in different colors, so you can kind of stay organized in the hotel. Like, his is red and hers is blue or whatever.
That's
so
pretty.
Packing cubes are amazing. You can stuff so much more stuff in. So much more stuff in.
That was my favorite moment in the whole podcast. Yeah, because we do accumulate a lot of stuff.
We do.
Life and in traveling. All right. Deanna, you got one?
You know what? I'm just going to say, do not be ashamed to have to nickel and dime things. For theme parks, for instance.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think they want to force you to buy all your tickets at once. And I have been, every time I get paid, I've been buying tickets to Epic Universe because they're astronomically priced. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy mine. And then it takes a while.
You don't buy them all at once.
Because I'm going in December. The planner in me. I'm going in December. I don't want to buy them at once because that's like $1,500 if you do express passes.
And you don't have to decide on the date when you buy them?
You do, but you can also change the date.
Okay.
So if you need to change the date because it's well in advance, you can.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah. That's what I've been doing.
I haven't been to Disney in forever, but I heard that if you buy a pass for 7 days or 14 days or 21 days, it's the same price.
You also got to
maybe
think
just
about
go for longer.
Or the annual pass. If you think you're going to go, because you get the free parking, the discounts on food and merchandise, sometimes just do the math, how many days you're going to go, consider parking because every theme park is so expensive. Yeah. It may pay off just to get the annual pass.
Or stay at a hotel with a shuttle so you don't have to deal
with the parking.
With the parking at all. Are we out of time?
We are.
So sad. Thank you, ladies. Loved having you here.
Great to be here.
All right, we need to do this like quarterly, like winter travel spring.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Adios.
Thanks, guys. That was fun.